Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the Seattle Seahawks 7 round mock draft review. We did a full mock draft, all 250 something picks, and so these will be the Seahawks selections. But before we get into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. We've already done a Seahawks 3 round mock draft. We also have other 3 round and 7 round mock drafts for the Seahawks planned leading up to the 2024 NFL draft. So be sure to ring that bell. And also, too, if you want to help us out, try and get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the combine, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to help grow our channel. And Ryan, let's pull up the screen here. So we wanted to include some context on what players were taken and still available. So you can see some of the picks before and after on the left there. But then also, we wanted to include some other options of players that we think they might take and where they were selected. So here we ended up going with Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. You can make an argument that he's probably the best pass rusher as of right now, best pass rusher for day one for any NFL team. I think what puts him behind Dallas Turner and Jared Verse is just the overall ceiling, just because of his injury history, his age overall. And so I think a guy like Laiatu, I think he'd fit this scheme really well. I think also then too now with Mike McDonald coming over as the head coach, I think this is going to be a guy that he really likes in his system, especially too if you go look at that Baltimore defense as well. So what do you like about Laiatu here in the Seahawks pick?
Yeah, I mean, he had a great Senior Bowl, and he plays with really good play strength. He's good against the run as well, and I think he would just be a really solid fit, just kind of plug and play and like move on to the next need. He does have it reminds me a little bit of like the Michael Penix of edge rushing prospects, where he had some serious injuries. I think at one point he was actually even forced to medically retire from football, and then ended up rehabbing and coming back, and now he's here, which is a great story. It's just when you look at the next level and things are going to get even more physical, you are curious how his body can kind of hold up. But he is a great athlete, and I do think that he will be able to hold up at the next level. Reminds me a little bit of Jalen Phillips, now that I kind of say all of this out loud on the video, because Jalen Phillips was very similar in that he was forced to medically retire. He's a great athlete. Actually, I think they're both 6'4", 255. Like, so maybe that's more of a comp that we should be talking about than Michael Penix. But I like this prospect a lot. And maybe 16 is a little rich for him, but they have a need at this point. Both Dallas Turner and Jared Verse were off the board, I believe. And I like the fit. So
Same. So let's move on though to the next pick for Seattle. They don't have a 2nd-round pick with the trade with the Giants, but they do have a couple of thirds right back to back. So ended up addressing the defensive line again here. We didn't really like some of the other options that they could have gone with. Maybe Dominic Puny. He was a tackle at Kansas, but he's projected to be a guard, so maybe they want to address the interior offensive line. But so we ended up going with Rook Aurora here. They also could have gone. Sorry, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I apologize. But I do think here now, especially looking at it, I think if there's something I would change about this pick, I probably would end up going with Zach Zinter here. I would say instead of going with the double up on the defensive line position as well. So I do like the player, but I think Seattle might do something differently. What are your thoughts overall?
Yeah, I do like the player here. I think in terms of draft prospects that can come in and make an impact, I think Rook Aurora Horo, however it is one of those guys. He was very physical at Clemson. Going to kind of be a little bit of an undersized defensive tackle. I believe he's only like 290. And to me, reminds me a little bit of Keon White from Georgia Tech last year. I like what he brings to the table. He's very physical, and he is undersized, but he still holds up decent against the run. And I think given the right system, I think he would be very, very successful. So I like that one. The other one I could see, Dwayne Carter from Duke is another one. And then Dominic Puny, he's a tackle from Kansas. He went about 5 picks later. He's going to be a guard at the next level. And they ran the option at Kansas, and he was a really, really good run blocker, and he was good in limited amount of pass blocking sets that he had. It's just, I mean, he had only a handful throughout the entire year because of the way that offense was run. So that would be interesting. And he does project to be a little bit more of a guard at the next level just because of his size. So I think that would be a really good fit as well.
I like it.
But moving on now to their next pick, this is going to be Junior Colson, the linebacker here. Huge guy, 6'5", 240, and kind of the muscle. And I don't want to say the meanness of that Michigan defense, but man, when he comes downhill with some hurt. And to me, I think when you look at this defense, they're going to have some undersized defensive tackles. Draymond Jones, Rook Aurora is another one, the pick right before this. And I think getting a beefy linebacker that can still move and kind of play sideline to sideline, I think is going to be really important here. He looks decent in coverage, but he does his best work coming downhill. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. I do think that this is an underrated area for the Seahawks to improve on. And so getting a guy like Colson here from Michigan is going to be great. I will say, just kind of quickly looking at it, though, now is like we did go 3 defensive picks in a row. And I guess maybe it's just depending on where the interior offensive linemen are. It's kind of without having that second round pick, it kind of mixed things up a little bit. But once again, I do think one of these 2 picks that were right next to each other, they would, if there's one thing I would change, is they would go interior offensive line, even though I do like the players, and I think they could, I think they have immediate needs at all 3 of those positions. But I think interior offensive line is also a major need as well. So, which we're going to address here in a second. Actually, I think on the next pick, if you want to go to their.
But I was going to say, before we do that, I do want to talk about some of the receivers that were right here, or not the receivers, the tight ends, because Noah Fant is a free agent, and they don't have an elite tight end room. And I think going and getting a guy like Cade Stover or Jaheim Bell, I think would be a really fantastic pick for them if they want to go that route and have more of a designated pass catcher over the middle in this offense. So
I like it. Yeah.
So yeah,
that's true.
Let's move on to the next picks here. So Drake Nugent going and getting a center here in the middle of the 4th round, I think would be a very nice pick. Then you have, to finish out the draft, Bo Braid, safety, and Dwight McGlothern, a cornerback here, just to add depth in those positions. If you have watched this channel for a long time, you know I am not a big fan of Jamal Adams. He just, 1, he doesn't stay on the field, and 2, when he's on the field, I don't think, like, he's a linebacker. Like, he's not a safety. And I think going and getting a little bit more of a traditional safety here in the 5th round, I think would benefit this defense a lot. So
and so I think with Seattle, I like the players that they got, and so I do think getting Drake Nugent there in the 4th round address that interior, because they do have a lot of needs on the interior offensive line. I think that's something where now, kind of going through this more, one of the neat things about doing these exercises is that it makes it, to me, even more and more likely that they are going to actually take Jackson Powers Johnson at 16, just because there is that massive drop off, and then they don't have that 2nd round pick. So they could potentially either trade back or just take him there, knowing, okay, all right, we've just addressed the interior offensive line in a major way. Let's go try and get address some of the other needs, and we can address the defensive line with our 78 and 81st pick, or still go get Junior Colson as well. Because with only 6 picks, they're going to have to be very efficient in who they select. So it makes me kind of think more and more that, okay, I think they're going to address the interior offensive line with that 1st pick, because there's a major drop off in that position outside of the top couple.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really interesting what the Seahawks are going to do in this draft. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Seahawks 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.